Welcome everybody to the second lesson, or second video lesson for lesson 2.4. Okay, and if we take a look at our I can statement for this lesson, it is I can write a fraction and or a decimal as a percent. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to convert fractions and decimals to percentages. So first thing I want to look at, my first problem, I have a decimal and I want to convert my decimal to a percent. What we're doing when we're converting decimals to percentages is we're just multiplying them by 100, and that'll give us our percentage from the decimal. So if I were to look at this, 32 hundredths times 100, I can just add my two zeros and then do 1 times 32, which is 32. So I have 3200, but now I got to be careful about this decimal right here. Okay, because I have a decimal, I have two numbers after the decimal, so I need to move my decimal over 2 places. Okay, so 32.00 becomes just 32. And that's my percentage by multiplying by 100. Here's a neat little trick for you guys though. If you have the decimal 32 hundredths and you're going to multiply by 100 to change it to a percentage, okay, all you really need to do to make this even more simple than it was before, you're just going to take that decimal, move it over twice, and then plot it. Okay, so 32 hundredths becomes 32 point. There's nothing there, so really I don't even need the decimal. It just becomes 32%. Okay, so essentially by moving the decimal place over 2 times to the right, we are just multiplying by 100, and that's how you convert a decimal to a percentage. It's very, very simple. Okay, now what I want to look at though is a fraction. Convert the fraction to a percentage. There's 2 different ways to do this. Okay, the first way, we can convert the fraction to a decimal and then convert the decimal to a percent, because we just learned how to convert decimals to percentages, right? So we can convert the fraction to a decimal and then we can convert the decimal to a percentage. So let's do that real quick. So I have 3 over 5. Every fraction is division, so remember to convert fractions to decimals, this is just the same thing as 3 divided by 5, which is also the same thing as 3 divided by 5. Be very, very careful about which number goes inside the house, which one doesn't. The first number always goes in, the second number always goes out. So 5 goes into 3 0 times, so now I need to add my decimal. Okay, and the 0. 5 goes into 30 6 times, subtract 30, and I'm left with 0. So I'm all done. So I know that 3 divided by 5 is just 6/10 or 0.6. Okay, so I have my decimal. Now I need to convert my decimal to a percentage. And the way I can do that is I multiply it by 100, or I move my decimal place over 1, 2. So here it is. I've got to fill in this little blank right here though. So I'm going to fill it in with a 0. So it becomes 60 point nothing, so just 60%. Okay. Another way that we could have done this is we can change the denominator of the fraction to 100 if possible. So change denominator to 100. Okay, and whatever your numerator then is going to be your percentage. So if I look at this, 3/5. Okay, can I multiply 5 by something to get to 100? 100 divided by 5 is what? Okay, and whenever I do the denominator, I have to do to my numerator. I can multiply 5 by 20, and that's going to give me a denominator of 100. So whatever I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator. Okay, so 3/5 is actually equivalent to 60 over 100, or 61 hundredths. Now that I have a denominator of 100, to change it to a percentage, I'm just going to take whatever is in my numerator, and that's now my percentage. So whenever you have a denominator of 100, your percentage is just your numerator. So because it's 60 over 100, it is actually 60%. So two different ways you can convert fractions to percentages. You can convert the fraction to a decimal and then convert that decimal to a percent, or you just change your denominator to 100 and whatever your new numerator becomes is your actual percentage. One last thing I want to do for this lesson is we're going to complete this table. So I have a couple decimals, I have a couple fractions, I have a percentage, and I want to fill in the blanks. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to convert this decimal to a percentage. Our first was actually converted to a fraction. Okay, 24 hundredths as a fraction would be just 24 hundredths. Okay, but I do need to reduce, so I can divide by 4, and I'd get 6 over 25, 6/25. Okay, now I got to convert either one of these to a percent. Well, if I look, I don't even have to move my decimal over twice, because if I look, I had a fraction of 24 over 100. I have a denominator of 100, so I can just take my numerator, and that's my percentage. So this is 24%. Or if I wanted to, I could have moved my decimal over 2 places, and I still would have gotten the same thing as 24%. Next one, 4 thousandths. This is another way of saying this is 4 thousandths, the proper way. So if I write that as a fraction, it's just 4 thousandths. And let's divide by 4. Divide by 4, and I will get 1 over 250. Now, 1 over 250 is not easily converted to a percentage, so I'm going to go over my decimal, move it over twice, plot it right there. So now I have 0.4, or just 0.4%. Okay, so now I have my fraction, 4/25. Let's actually work over here. So 4/25, can I do something to this denominator to make it 100? Can I multiply 25 by something to get 100? And the answer is I can do 25 times 4. Remember, 4 quarters and $1, right? So 25 times 4 equals 100. So whatever I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator. So I do get 16 over 100. Okay, 16 over 100. I have a denominator of 100, so I just take whatever my numerator is. And that would be 16%. Okay. Also, 16 hundredths, we know that would just be 0.16, because that would be 16 hundredths. Okay. 5/8, I need to ask myself, can I just easily multiply 8 by something to get 100? The answer is no. So I do need to do division, or 5 divided by 8. So I'm doing 5 divided by 8, and let's work it out real quick. 8 does not go into 5, so I need to add my decimal and a 0. 8 goes into 50. 6 times 8 is 48. I'm left with 2. I have a remainder, so I need to keep dividing. Let's bring down that 0. Okay. 8 goes into 20. 2 times, subtract 16. I'm left with 4. I need to bring down, I ran out of room on my screen. There we go, we're good. I need to bring down another 0. Okay. Whoop. And I'm left with 40. 8 goes into 40 5 times. I keep on right-clicking. I'm sorry, guys. And 8 times 5 is 40, so I don't have any more remainder. So I do get 0.625. Okay, so now that I got 0.625, I converted this to a decimal. So that's 625 thousandths. Now to convert 625 thousandths to a percentage, so I've got 0.625. I just take my decimal, move it over twice. I'm left with 62.5%. And lastly, we're actually going from a percentage to a fraction and to a decimal. Here's the trick with that, okay, is if we move our decimal place over twice to the right to figure out our percentage, we can just take our percentage and move the decimal place twice to the left. Just go in the opposite direction, and that's going to give you your decimal. So 42% is just 0.42, okay? And because this is 0.42, or otherwise known as 42 hundredths, I can then just reduce that fraction by dividing by 2, and I'll get 21 over 50. Okay, so again, just a quick recap. You can convert decimals to percentages by just taking your decimal and moving it over twice. And then vice versa, you can do the same thing for converting a percentage to a decimal by taking your decimal on the end and moving it twice to the left, so in the opposite direction. And you can also convert fractions to percentages by converting that fraction to a decimal and then converting your decimal to a percent. Or you can also convert a fraction to a percentage by just getting a denominator of 100. So for example, 4/25, I got a denominator of 100 by multiplying by 4. So 4/25 became 16 over 100. Whatever your numerator is over a denominator of 100 becomes your percentage. Okay guys, I hope this video helped, and good luck on the assignment.